Hello, everyone. It's Victor speaking. And I'm here today to talk about retrograde planets. I've received so many questions about them, and I'm not shocked at all because we've got so many at the moment looking like, they are moving backwards, but actually that's not the case. That's only an optical illusions as seen from the Earth. So I know it's an interesting phenomenon, and probably when you go online, you can see plenty of information about retrograde interpretations. So what I would like to do today is I'm going to be explaining at the first part of the video, what does a retrograde planet means in transits, and what does retrograde planets mean in your birth chart, because it's going to be a little bit different. And I think the exciting part is going to be the second part, because that's what you can't really find information about. So I mean, what it means to have a retrograde Venus, for instance, in your chart. And people are really afraid of them because, oh, I'm doomed. I hear it so many times. I've got Venus retrograde in my chart, so I'm never going to find love. And that's actually not the case. So I'm going to be talking about that in the second part of the video. So stay with me. And then if you like the video, please press like and please share this video with others as well. By the way, I've advertised a competition on my Facebook channel. So every single person's name is going to go into a hat who are tagging 2 people in one of my posts. I believe you guys know that I love teaching, and I believe that astrology should be available for everyone. So that's why I tend to make these educational videos, so that you can actually discover your potentials. By the way, I would like to make an announcement. I'm going to be holding a 12-week class on the moon. Everything you need to know about the moon is going to be in that course. It's going to be talking about the nodes of the moon, the parenting side of the moon, the financial side of the moon. And you might not have heard of that, but moon does talk about financials in your chart. We're going to be talking about how to interpret the different types of moon phases, but we're also going to be learning about predictions. How to predict with full moon, new moon. What does lunar gestation mean? Which is, by the way, a completely new timing technique. Most of the astrologers haven't even heard of it yet. However, it works brilliantly. I'm also going to be talking about what does an out-of-bound moon mean in your chart. And believe me, that's very, very exciting. And I'm also going to be touching base on Black Moon Leaf as well. So it should be a fantastic course. And it's something like 249 pound on my website. So please check it out. Okay, so I believe everyone agrees with me that retrogrades are an interesting phenomenon. And not just because the planet seems to be moving backwards. And as I said, it's an optical illusion. We see things a little bit differently from the Earth. But also it is interesting because astrologers tend to perceive this topic in a completely different way as well. And I understand the most favorite retrograde motion is the Mercury one. Everyone talks about it. Probably in many cases, people don't even know what they talk about, but they tend to be blaming poor Mercury. Now, one of the reasons why there could be plenty of confusion about Mercury or any type of retrograde motion is because there are different rules in regards to these motions in horary and electional astrology as well. So I'm going to give you just one example today out of those 15 to 20 examples I could come up with. But this is not going to be the intention of mine today to teach about Horary astrology. But imagine that you've got a fast-moving planet, such as Venus, and then it's approaching Jupiter. So eventually they are meant to be forming a conjunction in one of the signs, in one of your houses. However, before this conjunction would happen, Venus decides to go retrograde. And actually what happens is that this aspect is not going to get partile. And partile means exact. So what it means in Horary astrology is that a situation is almost getting to the end of it, and in the very last minute something comes up. So you might pull out, or someone changes their mind, or just something happens, and then the situation is never gonna happen. And this is what we call application in Horary astrology. There are at least 7 types of them, and there is another one. So there is at least 14, 15 to mention. It's very interesting. I recommend looking into those because it could give you a great tool to interpret your transit work, for instance, from a different perspective. So what does retrograde motion mean in transits? So first of all, as I said, the planet appears to move backwards. And I believe retrograde means a second chance. So you are receiving a second chance to revisit old ground and maybe even retrace your track. So your steps, sorry. So basically getting back on the right track. And you can read about retrograde periods like the do's and the don'ts. And do I agree with that? No, especially no when nowadays when there is Venus retrograde going on, and then I see questions coming from people: shall I date? Shall I date this guy because it's Venus retrograde? Or is there any point in me, picking up the phone call because my ex is calling me? I mean, come on. That's all I'm saying. Live your life according to your needs. Astrology is here to help you make decisions, but not to, love is love. 60%, 50% of the marriages are ending up being divorced. Now, not all of those are happening during retrograde periods. And I'm guessing actually most of them are not happening during retrograde periods because Venus goes only retrograde every 18, 19 months. So don't be scared about retrograde. Retrograde means the followings: research. And remember this prefix, re. You have to research, rethink, reconfirm, reorganize, or review something. Maybe it just means that you're going to have to rest a little bit. Let's pick on Mercury retrograde because everyone knows Mercury, right? And Mercury tends to go retrograde 3-4 times a year as well. So a little bit of a guideline to Mercury retrograde: rest, reflect, recharge your batteries. Probably you need to retreat from urban life as well, and then just spend a little bit more time with your deepest thoughts. But if your ex-boyfriend, girlfriend is calling you, shall you pick up the phone? Sure. The planets are not making decisions instead of you. They are not forcing you to do anything. Retrograde means second chance, revisit something. Okay, maybe revise opinions. You have to readjust your priorities. Maybe you have to make a decision on things you have been postponing, and then all of a sudden universe is kind of pushing you to make that decision because you can't wait anymore. You know, Mercury is all about logic. So maybe from a logical point of view, you're going to have to investigate something a little bit more in depth, gathering more information before you make your decisions. Yes, the planet is slow, and retrograde, at first, it looks like it's not moving at all. So probably the first, the stationary period and the first, let's say, few days of a retrograde uh, Mercury, maybe, yes, I would say, think 3-4 times before you do anything. But then after Mercury is starting to pick up its normal space, okay? So you don't need to be so scared of it. Basically, what it is about. So let me compare these retrograde phases with the moon phases. We've got the sun right here, and you've got the moon right here, and that's a conjunction, right? One second. Yeah, so that's a conjunction. Obviously, the moon moves faster, and you've got the sun, which only goes 1 degree a day. So the moon, the following day, is going to be somewhere there. Sun is moving just a tiny bit, then it's there, 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 there. So there are 8 types of moon phases. Now, when it comes to different planetary combinations to the sun, they have got their phases as well. So the Mercury, for instance, never goes more than 28 degrees away from the sun. So the sun is here, Mercury goes there, and then when it reached that 28 degree, the Mercury starts coming backwards. And then at one point, they're going to be meeting, right? Let's say they meet in here. And then Mercury goes that way and then reaches the 28-degree period and then comes backwards and then meeting the sun again. So this is how you should imagine this retrograde period. Now, there are different types of phases. So if you divide the 28 degree by 8, like the moon phases we have got, then that's going to be like 3-4 degree. Now, in ancient Hellenistic astrology, the conjunction within the sun or any conjunction, the 3-degree orb was very, very important. So I believe all you read on the internet in regards to don't do certain things during Mercury retrograde is only when the Mercury is within 3 degree from the sun. Other than that, you can go and live your life, you know, accordingly. Yes, be a little bit more careful. I'm not suggesting make rash decisions and so forth, but don't get hung up on it too much. Okay, so you know, with Mercury retrograde, maybe you're gonna have to clean things up. Maybe you're gonna have to repair things which haven't been working. You know, maybe you're gonna have to step back a little bit and then trying to look at the bigger picture, basically. What I have noticed with retrograde motions that you know, everyone is excited. Oh, yes, Mercury has stopped the retrograde motion. It's all gonna be good now. Well, I've noticed that the planets we're gonna start benefiting from them when the direct planet got back to the original place where it started the retrograde motion. So I give you an example on that. Mars is going to go retrograde in September, and I believe, don't take this for granted, but I think it's going to be happen on the 27th degree of Aries, and then Mars is going to go back to 14th. Now, of course, there is a 13-degree period there, and Mars goes retrograde for approximately about 63 days. So imagine that Mercury is going to move backwards on those degrees, right? And then gonna move back to the original position. Once it reached that original position, that's where things start speeding up, because Mars rules speed, Mars rules competition. So most probably, I can imagine that that's going to be a period of time when the world is going to start speeding up a little bit. And that might be somewhere in mid-January. Well, it finishes in November, so mid-December, sorry. Things might speed up there quite a lot. Anyway, I'm not here to make a prediction on anything, so just I wanted to illustrate. Another thing which I would like you to know about retrograde period is that it only really matters in transit when it hits one of your natal planets at least 3 times. So again, imagine this, if you have got any planets between that 27 degree of Aries to 14 degree of Aries, then Mars is going to be traveling within that period, within that segment 3 times. Clearly, that is going to be exciting for us. Other than that, if there is nothing going on in your natal chart within that particular area of life, you might not be experiencing. Clearly, the most important one is going to be something to do with the conjunction. So conjunction means that the planets are top of each other. Okay, if conjunction is not happening, but you might see oppositions, that could be also exciting and maybe noticeable. Square as well, but not that strongly, in my experience. So to summarize on what retrograde means in transit work, for me, it's a second chance. It means that you are receiving a cosmic push to redo things which you kind of messed up previously. So Venus retrograde, maybe on a global level, it means that you're going to have to think about why you got together at the first place, for instance, with your partner. How ironic it is. Who, by the way, I would be able to talk about Venus retrograde for ages, because Venus is a very special planet, which I'm not going to do this time around. I might do a 30-minute educational video on that one as well, because she's definitely very exciting. But anyway, so how ironic it is that Venus is retrograde after all this COVID situation, what happened, right? And most probably everyone who was, who was locked up with their partner, they might have faced some type of challenges. Why is that? Because you didn't work. That's a stressful situation. Kids are at home 24/7. That could be a stressful situation. But this is exactly the time when you guys are going to get to know each other on a deeper level. Because it happens in Gemini, right? So you're going to have to talk to your partner. And this might show, how compatible two people are. This is how I see that. And for me, it's very ironic that Mercury and Venus retrograde happen at the same time. Anyway, as I said, I'm not here to make predictions, but it is definitely something which is interesting. Okay. Now, the next thing which I wanted to talk to you about is what happens, or what does it mean to have a retrograde planet in your natal chart? I think you can't really find great information online about it. I've got my own theory, and I'm going to say that I believe a retrograde planet in your natal chart means that something is going to develop at a very early age in your life. Maybe if you've got Jupiter retrograde, you're going to get successful at an early age. If you've got Venus retrograde, you might, get married at an early age. So you're gonna experience the quality or the essence of that planet uh, probably before maturity. So we in astrology we believe that you get mature around the age of 29, 28-ish, when you've got the first Saturn return. Um, I can give you an example. So I've got Pluto retrograde in my 8th house. Bear in mind that Pluto spends a good 40% of the year in retrograde motion. So how seriously you should be taking the generational planets retrograde motion, that's a different topic. I would be going up to the 7 visible planets, so up till Jupiter and Saturn. Even Saturn is about 36% of the year is in retrograde period. So yes. However, I do have Pluto retrograde in my 8th house in the sign of Libra. And that could indicate a death of a lover, of a marriage partner at a very early age. As I said, I don't necessarily believe you should be looking so deeply with the retrograde. Looking at the retrograde outer planets, but as an example, it's going to serve very well to make you understood what exactly I mean by them. So I've got that Pluto there, which could means the death of a marriage partner. I was very young when, I was about 9 years when I had a very Plutonian experience. Um, and I have had issues with that Plutonian experience up till, a couple of years ago. But I also had another very important Plutonian event, which I could talk about, and that was the death of my mom. And it happened when I was 17. And basically, that was the very first love or marriage taken away from me, if you like it. I had to experience what death is. Am I scared of death? I am, I must admit. Pluto is in the sign of Libra in my case. Am I scared of a relationship because of the death of my grandma? Probably yes. And this is something I have been struggling with in my entire life. So, in my opinion, a retrograde planet means that you fully engage with the essence of the planet at a very early age. And then after you've got a period of resting, and then after you pick up again, and then you go with the energy, and then you can fulfill again that retrograde planet's energy. So I give you an example. For instance, think about um, some celebrities. Let's suppose now on there is no one on top of my head, but let's suppose that you've got something to do with retrograde Jupiter or retrograde Venus in your chart, which could mean success. It really depends, what your midheaven is and so forth. Anyway, and then all of a sudden things are gonna slow down for you. Actually, I do have an example. It was a client of mine. He had a retrograde Mars in his second house. And that Mars was actually ruling the 8th house. And when he was young, he inherited plenty of money. But he wasn't really careful about that money. So basically, within a few years, he managed to lose it all. And then after, for years, he was struggling, for decades actually, he was struggling with money. and he almost ended up on the street. So he became such a poor guy. He became a drug addict and so on. So you can imagine. And somehow, at the second part of his life, which I'm not going to be able to tell you, a generic stuff about it, like it's going to happen this time or that time. But at one point of his life, he started picking himself up, and then he became a millionaire again. Um, yes. So that's what really, in my opinion, retrograde means. You experience the pure energy at a very early age. For instance, with Venus, to give you another example, maybe you're going to be experiencing some Venusian principles, such as getting married at an early age. But then later in life, you have to return to this topic, and then you have to you have to examine it. Um, and that's why people feel about Venus retrograde that I'm doomed, I'm never going to have anyone, and so forth. Forget about it. That's not the case. Okay, last but not least, what I wanted to talk about is when a retrograde planet is important in your chart. Um, Now, in my opinion, in any chart, you always have to find a special signature, which I'm going to be doing a video about on Monday, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and one of the special signature could be when you've got a planet around the angles. Now, if you have got a planet which is retrograde around angles, let's say within about 10 degrees, that retrograde motion is very important, and you're going to have to analyze that very deeply, what it could mean. And, what I've experienced with this retrograde is because it means internalized feelings. You're going to have to look into yourself. I also believe the retrograde means karmic experiences. It's not just an early age, but for instance, going back to that person who was a millionaire and then eventually became poor and so forth, you know the person had to revisit how he was treating others. Were you looking down on people? you know and I do believe that it indicates some type of a past life as well, what you did to others, and then you are here to learn about this topic. So retrograde means learning, a learning curve, a learning journey. Are you going to be making mistakes on the journey? Yes, of course, we are humans. That's how you improve. um don't be scared of retrograde periods, retrograde planets. Be grateful to them, and just kind of promise to yourself that you're going to be learning about that. And then nothing bad is going to happen to you. Well, I hope this video helps. Please press like, please share this video with others. I would like to build a huge community. I would like to reach more of you. Um, Check out that competition. As I said, you can win a course of mine up to £350 actually. And you might be the winner of this Moon 12-week course. So then you don't have to sign up for it, right? Check out that Moon course. I think it's going to be fantastic, and you will enjoy it. You will learn a lot. So if you like my teaching, then please follow me. Many thanks. Stay blessed. Take care of yourself, and have a lovely weekend. Bye bye.